Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of House Bill 511. The ayes are 152. The nays are 16. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 603. House Resolution 603.
House Resolution 603 by Representative Dempsey the 13th, a resolution directing the Department of Community Health to collect and report certain data regarding bariatric surgical procedures. Resolution having been from the House Committee on Health and Human Services. Committee recommends the resolution do pass. Resolution is being read today for its third time.
Chair recognizes Chairman Dempsey to speak to the resolution. Chairman Dempsey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the follow-up piece that I was telling you about. When Commissioner Cook and I talked about the bill to do a pilot study, he suggested that we do this too, because at this time there are about 2,000 enrollees right now that have had the procedure. They are being followed, and when I say procedure, I do apologize. There are actually 3 different procedures that they can have. So those who have had some sort of bariatric surgery. They are being followed, but we are not collecting as much data as could really benefit the decisions to be made ahead as to whether we can possibly put this back into the state health benefit plan. So what HR 603 does is the same measures that were in 511, except it's not a new pilot. It goes back to look at those who have already had it and to get more information, such as the date of surgery, the type of procedure, whether it was open or laparoscopic, the actual cost, not the bill charge, but the cost, the patient comorbidities before surgery, the metrics claims for cost for 18 months prior, and then following them, documentation at 6, 12, 18, 24, and 36 months. So going farther, hopefully to extend it out to 5 years after the 36 months as well. Absentee records for those 12 months periods too, to make sure that they are still working and still employees of our state. If there are any questions, Mr. Speaker, I will take them.
You have a question if you care to yield.
I do.
Chair recognizes Representative Spencer to your right for a question.
Madam Chairman, will you yield?
I will.
I appreciate what you're trying to do in the previous bill, but I wanted to address with you something you may want to consider in the Senate is I have counseled a lot of these overweight patients in my profession, and if you don't do some type of psychiatric screening, we need to make sure that those patients are not at risk for noncompliance, because that will drive up the cost of this program. That's something to consider.
Well, and I thank you for that. That is very important, Representative Spencer. That is part of qualifying for the surgery, actually. There's about a year in process to decide if the procedure truly will help you at all, if you are a good candidate. And we're going to certainly be trying to invest in good candidates. But also, they must be a part of the state health benefit plan and a part of our new wellness plan. I believe it is for 2 years now. So even, we'll be doing that. So that will certainly help, I think. Are there any further questions, Mr.
You have
Speaker?
one more if you care to yield.
I will.
Chair recognizes Representative Jones, Representative Sheila Jones, to your left for a question.
Will the lady yield?
I certainly will.
Is it not true that I had the laparoscopic procedure in 2004?
If the lady so states, and you have certainly shared that with me.
Yes, I shared this with the committee, and it was very successful, the screening before, and the test that the Representative Spencer addressed, that was part of the screening before we had the procedure, as well as a great follow-up with the procedure after it was done. And I think that this is great resolution as well as a great bill that you have sponsored. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. I can't imagine right now facing the challenges of the many serious health issues that come with true challenges of overweight. I hope that each of us will consider outside of ourselves what it might be like and what we can do to help our state help those who need it, and then to continue to work here in a much healthier fashion. I ask for each of you to consider this and to please support it with your positive vote. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
You have no further questions, and the lady has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the adoption of the resolution? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this resolution now be adopted? All those in favor of the adoption of the resolution will vote aye. Those opposed will vote nay, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members now voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the adoption of the resolution, the ayes are 164, the nays are 1. This resolution, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 517. House Bill 517.
House Bill 517, Representative Williams, 119th. Bill will be entitled Title III, relating to regulation of alcoholic beverages generally, so as to provide for local control of distance requirements for grocery stores and other licensees for the retail sale wine and malt beverages for the consumption off the premises. Only such grocery stores and other licenses shall be open in locations near college campuses, such as downtown areas. Bill has been for the House Committee on Regulated Industries. The committee recommends the bill pass by substitute. Bills being read today for the third time.
Chair recognizes Representative Chuck Williams to present the bill. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I come before you this afternoon to present to you and ask for your favorable consideration of House Bill 517. I will ask you to try to follow me closely on this, because as I have found in Chapter 3, Title 3 of the Official Code of Georgia, some of the alcohol issues can be a little difficult to follow. What this is simply is a local bill that allows local governments, be they county or municipal, to determine the appropriate separation distance between college campuses, and I emphasize college campuses only, not K-12 schools, not churches, to determine the appropriate separation distance between college campuses and establishments where beer and wine are sold for takeout or off-premises consumption. Interestingly enough, currently we allow local governments the authority to determine the appropriate separation distances for on-premises consumption of beer, wine, and distilled spirits or liquor. But currently we do not allow local control for package sales of adult beverages. House Bill 517 puts package sales of beer and wine, and again, beer and wine only, not liquor, on a level playing field with on-premises consumption as it relates to college campuses. This bill has support on both the local level and the statewide level. ACCG, GMA have expressed support. Since this does deal with colleges, we obviously reached out to the University System of Georgia. They are very aware of the bill and have taken a position of neutrality. You may ask why I, as a sophomore, am here with an alcohol bill in front of you, and I will tell you this comes out of a project or two that we're working on in Athens, Clarke County, to try to get an in-town grocery store, and the grocery store economic model needs beer and wine package sales to be feasible. Mr. Speaker, I ask for positive consideration of my fellow members, and I will yield for any questions if there are any.
The chair has a question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned plague fill. The chair wants to be certain, will this bill, is there any potential here for this having a detrimental effect on the game day experience in certain college towns in the autumn?
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate that question. I will tell you, as a proud alumnus of UGA, if you stand under the hallowed arch at UGA to get to these potential grocery store locations that would sell packaged beer and wine, you walk by multiple bars that are selling beer, wine, and hard liquor for on-premises consumption. I think game day Saturdays are safe, Mr. Speaker.
So this actually would enhance the game day experience then, is that what you're saying?
If one wishes to imbibe on game day, I believe it will.
Well, rumor has it that some do, so I just wanted to make sure that they were not going to be negatively impacted by your bill.
Mr. Speaker, I would certainly hope to do nothing to impact the game day festivities.
You have another question if you care to yield.
I will yield.
Chair recognizes Representative Kidd for a question. Back to your left.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman yield.
Yes.
Does this bill have any effect on the antiquated, old, self-serving, monopolizing three-tier system of delivering alcohol?
If one believes that system is antiquated and monopolizing, no, this bill addresses only the specifics that I have spoken of. It does not delve into the other issues of Title III, Section 3.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
You have no further questions.
I will yield the well and ask for your favorable consideration.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 517 will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? Have all members now voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of House Bill 517, the ayes are 156, the nays are 6. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed.
Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 197.
House Bill 197, Representative Powell, 171st. Bill will be entitled, Act Title 48, relating to ad valorem taxation of property, so provide for taxation of land subject to a forest land conservation use covenant. Bill has been for the House Committee on Ways and Means. Committee recommends that this bill do pass by way of a committee substitute. Bill is being read today for its third time.
Chair recognizes Chairman Powell to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I present to you, ladies and gentlemen of the House, House Bill 197. This is an update of the Forest Land Protection Act. It's got quite a few changes, none of them what I would consider very major, but I'll go through them really quick for you. On the second page on line 26 through 32, it basically says that when we exempt a residential construction, that when we include a residential construction in regular assessment, we're also including 2 acres that are underlying that. On line 74, we're stating that the granting of an easement for ingress and egress does not violate the covenant. Line 90 and subsequent to that, we're saying that if there is a falling below of 50% of timberland, that the landowner can transfer it to a CUVUP covenant. And on line 103, we're saying that if the size of the lot that is transferred is less than 200 acres, that will not violate the covenant, but the covenant cannot be renewed unless there's additional land added to it. And then probably the major portion of it is that in line 227, there's a provision for an independent performance review board to assess whether there are some counties that are gaming the system, and if so, providing penalties in the event that they are. And that pretty much is the bill. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and if there are none, I will yield the well and request your favorable consideration.
There are no questions.
Thank you.
Gentleman is yielded up. For what purpose does Representative Rogers rise?
I had a question, Madam Speaker, but that's okay. I'll get with the author.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 163, the nays were 5. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 211.
House Bill 211, Representative Benton, the 31st. The bill to be entitled Act amending Code Section 48-9-3 relating to levy of motor fuel excise tax to exempt public school systems from motor fuel excise taxes under certain circumstances. Bill having been before the House Committee on Ways and Means. The committee recommends bill do pass by way of a committee substitute. This bill is being read today for its third time.
Chair recognizes Chairman Benton to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I want to present to you today House Bill 211. From time to time, we find that we tax one government entity and then turn around and give it to another. This bill will seek to solve one of those problems, at least for 2 years. We are wanting to remove the excise tax on fuel that is used by school systems. And there is a fiscal note attached to the bill. The cost is about $5.5 million. With that, Madam Speaker, I'll answer any questions. If not, I'll yield the well.
There are no questions.
Thank you.
Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 165, the nays were 1. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 399. House Bill 399 by Representative Knight of 130th. Bill to be
title act amending Title 648 relating to aviation, revenue, and taxation respectively, so as to clarify which types of interest and real property may be subject to ad valorem taxation. Bill having been before the House Committee on Ways and Means. Committee recommends bill to pass by way of a committee substitute, and this bill is being read today for its third time.
Chair recognizes Chairman Knight to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First of all, before I start today, I want to say a little thank you to folks from Clayton County in regarding this bill. While there's disagreement on it, I want to thank them for the leadership and the way in which this bill has been handled, and I think it is truly kudos to them for the way they've handled it. You know, we come across situations up here where we disagree, but in this case, I'm very proud to have worked with that delegation. This bill, I wish I could say it was a simple little bill. It's a little bill, but it's not so simple. It's very important to the taxpayers and property owners, to the taxpayers of the state of Georgia, that we have uniform property tax code that is applied fairly and equally. And with that, I want to take a quick look at the bill, and if you'll look at lines 20 and 21 of the bill, all we're simply doing here is taking out the possessory. That's the key part here, is possessory. And this is a term that has been either misinterpreted or construed to give a local government the authority to levy an ad valorem tax on real property, now, real property, okay, that otherwise is a non-taxable interest. The real effect of this, an application, has to deal with Atlanta Airport. And those concessionaires that have contracted with Atlanta Airport are being levied taxes on real property that they do not own, they don't have a right to transfer, they don't have a right to sell, and in short, they don't have the right of quiet enjoyment. They're told when their business can be open, they can be moved, they can be closed, they're told what uniforms to buy, their price on their goods or services are monitored and approved by the Atlanta Airport. Now, under Georgia law, this is what we call a usufruct. Now, don't try to say that too fast 3 times, or you probably say something you don't want to say. But under Georgia law, a usufruct is where someone gets the use of property, but they don't get possession of it. They can use it, but they don't have possession of it. In fact, that term is in the definition in 44.7.1, and specifically, it creates a relationship between the landlord and the tenant when the real estate is granted to another person who accepts the grant to simply possess and enjoy the use of such real estate for a fixed time or at the will of the grantor, and in such case, no estate passes out of the landlord, and the tenant only has a usufruct, which may not be conveyed except by the landlord's consent, and most of all, which is not subject to levy or sale. And again, I repeat, it's not subject to levy or sale. And that's what the heart of this issue is that we've got a situation where local government has made a leap of faith or construed under the aviation code in Georgia that they have the authority to tax a business that does not own real property. And I think that's the heart of what it is. I tried to, when I looked at this code, to see if there was anything that would substantiate what they were doing, and I could not find it. In fact, if you go to the code, we've defined fair market value. Fair market value is where there's a purchase or a sale between a willing buyer and a willing seller. In this case, there's no way that this interest, so-called usufruct, can be sold. It's not owned by the concessionaires here. Second of all, the code is very clear as to persons who are liable for property taxes. Taxes shall be charged, this is under 4859, shall be charged against the owner of the property if the owner is known, and against the specific property itself if the owner is not known. Life tenants and those who own and enjoy the property shall be chargeable with taxes on the property. This is our code section 48.5. You know, this is just not about Clayton County, because as you look around, this is about businesses all around the state. Usufructs, let me give you some example. Has anyone been to the mall? Come on, somebody's been in the mall and bought the little helicopter from the vendor that's out in the middle of the mall. That would be a usufruct. That person does not own or possess that space and therefore would not get a property tax bill. Think about your college campuses. All those vendors or the restaurant that's on your college campus, that would be a usufruct. And those restaurants are there inside a government building, but they're not getting a property tax bill. Think about the shoe shine guy that's just right outside our doors. Same principle. And that's what's going on here. Bottom line is that this code was amended 23 years ago for this undefined term of possessory, and only recently has Clayton County tried to come in here and assess property taxes. This is very important for the people, taxpayers of the state of Georgia, the property owners and the business, to make sure that we have a clear and concise code section that they know exactly how they're going to get taxed. And that is exactly what this bill does. We are taking out that language, possessory, to make sure that this doesn't happen again and that someone can't come into a section other than the tax code section and give someone authority to levy property taxes. And with that, Madam Speaker, I will be happy to yield for any questions.
There are a couple questions. The chair recognizes Representative Flood for a question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
I will.
You mentioned that Clayton County just started enacting this tax. I understand that this tax, according to the Tax Commission in Clayton County, has been in place for a number of years.
The code section by which they're hanging their hat on with that term possessor has been in the code since, I think it was changed in 1983. My understanding is that Clayton County just started levying these taxes for 2010, 11, and 12.
That's not quite the way I understand it, according to the tax commissioner from Clayton County, who's explained to me that they had been collecting this tax for a number of years. However, in 2010, there was an exemption that was placed where they would not be able to collect that tax any further. So they had been collecting it prior to 2010.
Is that a question?
Is that not true?
No, to my understanding, that is not true, Representative. In fact, it's not true in the fact that the vendors that were a part of this, that had brought this, were only recently called back, and the tax assessor was about to go back and tax them and assess them taxes for 2007, 8, and 9. So if that were true and he had been assessing these taxes would have been assessed all along.
Well, I understand that the tax had been assessed all along, but do you have a sense of how much revenue Clayton County would be losing as a result of this bill?
Representative Flood, I don't know the exact number, but my point here is that if you've got this not according to what we have set as policy in the state of Georgia, that doesn't matter. We want to make sure that good tax policy in the state of Georgia is set, and that everyone, all the property tax folks, all the property owners, all the businesses understand that tax code, and it's fair, and it is administered equally and uniformly across the board.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Chokas for a question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To my friend in the well.
Yes.
The question that I have about this particular bill is, would it have any effect on a triple net lease where part of the lease agreement involves the payment of taxes by the tenant?
No, it doesn't. And thank you for the question, the clarification. This doesn't have anything to do with a leasehold estate, where there's actually a leasehold that has been transferred. Under that situation, you have, a taxable interest, and under Georgia law, you, the tenant, and the landlord can enter into agreement such that he or she can designate those taxes to the person who has the lease. But this has nothing to do with the lease. This is the use of a non-defined term, possessory, and it's specifically as it goes back to a usufruct, which is where someone doesn't have ownership or possession or an interest in property. They only get to use it. It's almost like a license.
There are no more questions.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I ask for your favorable consideration, and I will yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Pursuant to Rule 33.3, debate shall be limited to no more than 1 hour on House Bill 399, with the time divided equally between those that are for and against the measure. Chair recognizes Representative Mabra to speak on the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the members of the House, usufruct, usufruct, usufruct. I said it 3 times. We got to talk about these words here because this is a word game here. I looked at those lines that he quoted out, lines 20 and 21. And since I've been here for a few days, I've learned a few things. They told me about this thing called a catfish. I said, what is a catfish? They said that's when you change one little word in the bill from shall to may. I said, shall, that won't hurt it. That does everything, shall or may. That's called a catfish. You're gutting something, right? Well, I say, well, what happens when you take a valid law that is helping people and you want to gut the whole thing? Said that's a killer whale, man. That's got to be a killer whale. The other one's a catfish. And let's look at these words here. Regardless of the extent of such interest, that means any interest. So we're going to talk about the usufruct. And so I looked it up. And we mentioned leaseholds. Usufruct is like a license. Let's look at the root of the word usufruct. Use means I can use something. Fruct, it sounds in Latin. Fruit, fructose, fructus. That's fruit. That means I can use the land, take the fruit, and you get no benefit. The benefit is all for me. We call that profit. Other people might say that's raping the land. Taking and no one gets anything but the person who has that license. And so I say to you, so we're talking about the airport here. And we looked at the contracts. And I looked at this bill and I said, well, we're striking out 14 words here. This is a page bill, just 1 page. That's all. Not complicated. But I'm just an old country attorney here, so I looked at those 14 words and I said, hey, what's going on here? And I thought about it and I said, and then they added 10 words and they said, so long as the interest creates an estate in the land. So they took out any interest, and then they said as long as it creates an estate in the land. Well, a lease is an estate in the land, a leasehold agreement. And I don't know about you, but I'm a business owner, and I signed a lease. I didn't sign a usufruct, signed a lease. And you could break a lease, you could break a usufruct. And so I looked at the contract between the concessionaires in the city of Atlanta, and there goes that word, usufruct. Said, this is not a lease. This is a usufruct. So I looked at this bill, and the bill only talks about leaseholds now. And they said, we're going to take that any interest language out so it doesn't apply to usufruct, because usufruct is an interest, it's a license. I mean, you can go and use, rate, take the fruit and take it somewhere else. And so who is this hurting? This is hurting the taxpayers of Clayton County, the people around the airport. And I rise in opposition of HB 399. It's not right. And this word game, as an attorney, this is my occupation. I stand up and I fight for the little people. And so we got business owner interests that are being taken care of here. This protects the concessionaires. It's not looking out for the taxpayers of Clayton County and the surrounding airport. And so I ask you to oppose this bill with me. Stand up for justice. And I look at it, and I want to say, hey, this should fail on all measures. Shouldn't even made it out here, but it did. It did. And so I looked at the 14 words that they're cutting out and the 10 words that they're adding in. And I said, hey, who's losing here? The taxpayers. What are we losing? 10 to 14 million. So I said, how ironic is that? Cutting out 14 words, adding 10 words, and we're losing 10 to 14 million. And so I tell you, when you get ready to hit your button today, you think about that usufruct, and you say it 3 times to yourself, and then you hit that red button. I yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. For what purpose does Representative Battles rise?
I did have a question, but he's yielded the will, so I guess I'll not be.
The gentleman waves. The chair recognizes Representative Stovall to speak on the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and the members of this House. Thank you, Chairman Knight, but I am standing in opposition of House Bill 399. The real issue is whether Code 6321 dealing with air facilities has enough clarity of which type of interest in real property may be subjected to ad valorem taxes. The legislature, which includes us, have already provided for the taxation of all possessionary interests at the airport, but to now create an exemption for holders of the possessionary interest will require by approval a 2/3 vote and approval by referendum pursuant to the Constitution. The actual effect of this bill is the creation of ad valorem tax exemptions. Article 7, Section 2, Paragraph 2A1 mandates that no property shall be exempted from ad valorem taxation unless the exemption is approved by 2/3 vote of the General Assembly and by the voters in a statewide referendum. There has been mention that the aviation code is being used to justify taxing the possessionary interest and that it should be in that tax code. It is without question that the exemption from taxation for the City of Atlanta is not in the tax code, but in the aviation code. If an exemption from taxation can be in the aviation code, then surely the authority to tax can also be found there. Why isn't Code 6320, which is the ad valorem tax, being repealed along with the 6321 code we are speaking on today? Just because the tax code has been in the code since 1983 doesn't negate the right of our county to access the tax at any time. The creation of this bill, in my opinion, has little to do with possessionary interest tax, but more to do with how the concessionaires have been duped by the City of Atlanta in manipulating tax assessments by using a non-standard concessionaire agreement and calling it a business and entertainment concessionaire agreement instead of a leaseholder agreement like other airports. They led concessionaires to believe an agreement dealing with taxes. This bill, if passed, will impact Clayton County by a minimum of $1.63 million to the county and $1.53 million to the school board in a time when every dime counts. Many county departments, which are essential to the welfare of our citizens in Clayton County, will be affected, let alone thinking about the negative impact to our school system, which is still rebounding from the loss of accreditation. These funds have helped to offset the decrease in educational funds received by the state and the federal government. So I ask you to join me along with my colleagues from Clayton County in voting no for House Bill 199.
The lady has yielded the well. The chair recognizes Representative Scott to speak on the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and to the House. Taxation of possessory interest only occurs when the interest is granted by an entity that is otherwise exempt from the taxation. Providing an exemption from the taxation to both the owner of the property, the City of Atlanta, and the holder of the possessory interest give those businesses an unfair advantage over other similar businesses. Why should McDonald's, Burger King, and the host convenience stores located in the airport be exempt from property tax, and similar businesses located outside of the airport be taxed either by a tax on their leasehold interest or having the tax from the landlord passed on to the tenant through rent? According to the newspaper, the county is misinterpreting the law. It is the function of the court to decide whether the law is being properly interpreted. If the court agrees, then the tax will no longer be levied. The role of the legislature is to make the law, not interpret it. If the legislature does nothing, the court will resolve the issue. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I yield the well.
The lady has yielded the well. The chair recognizes Representative Jordan to speak on the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to voice my opposition for this bill. House Bill 399 will have a devastating effect on the county that I represent. That's Clayton County. No other county, no county will be affected like Clayton County. And we're not talking about chicken change. We're talking about $12 million a year. But let me say real quickly, thank you to Chairman Knight for giving the Clayton County delegation an opportunity to speak to him about this bill. And also, thank you for inviting us to the subcommittee. Alan Peake, I believe, was the subcommittee chair, but he gave us an opportunity to come and express ourselves. He didn't have to do that. I want to say thank you. For the last several years, the county that I represent has taken a great deal of hits monetarily. Just last year, we gave a jet fuel exemption to the airlines that cost us to lose over $17 million. Now, we gave it to them when they needed it. But even now they don't need it, they still get it. Matter of fact, I heard the airline is buying another airline. Now you tell me, how do they need that tax exemption? Now something is wrong here. Several years ago, we lost the car rental business out of Clayton County. It moved from Clayton to Fulton. So we lost that, and that was millions of dollars. Something is wrong, and you are asking us to take another hit. The jet fuel, the car rental, now you're asking us to take another hit. Something is wrong. What did Clayton County do to deserve this type of treatment? What do we do? Something is wrong. How will we be able to provide police protection, fire protection? What about our schools? You know, I'm afraid that I can hear my grandchildren coming home saying, Granddaddy, we don't have art at our school anymore. Granddaddy, we don't have music. Granddaddy, the pipes are leaking because we can't pay for it. Granddaddy, guess what? I cannot cheer anymore because we don't have athletics. The county commissioner told me we've got to cut. The school superintendent has already said we are going to have to cut. But what did my grandchildren do? My children are grown, out of school, but my grandchildren are there. Granddaddy, guess what happened today? I didn't even have a teacher. We cannot make up this kind of money overnight. As many of you know, when we lost the accreditation, we took a big hit then because the homes evaluation went down. That hurt us. Granddaddy, what did I do with her teary eyes? And I'm going to say to her, sweetheart, it's not what you did, it's what I didn't do. And that is stop this bill. I remember, now listen to me. I remember when our school system lost our accreditation, and it was taken from us. And that had a devastating impact. And many of you, some have left now, used that as a whipping stick in this very place that I'm speaking from today. You laughed at us. Not calling any names, but some of you are in that same situation today. Now my point to that is, if this bill passes today, what's to say that a bill such as House Bill 399 would not happen to you tomorrow? In closing, I'm asking you, my colleagues, to please vote no on House Bill 399 and let this tax question, see, there's a question about whether or not this law is legal. Now, the last time I read that we are lawmakers. I didn't know that we were down here to interpret the law. I thought we were down here to make the law. Let the courts decide whether this is right or whether this is wrong. For my grandchildren and for all the children of Clayton County and all the citizens, have mercy and do justly. For after all, the quality of mercy is not strained or dropped as gentle from the heavens. Madam Speaker, I yield the well, and I ask that you please vote no. Thank you.
The gentleman has yielded the well. The chair recognizes Representative Kidd. For what purpose?
Oh, wait, Madam Chairman, I had a couple of questions.
He waives. Chair recognizes the Chairman of Ways and Means to present the closing remarks in the Chairman's report. Chairman Chanel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm going to cede my time, the Chairman's time, to the author of the bill, Chairman David Knight.
Chair recognizes Representative Knight for the closing remarks.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and Chairman Chanel. You know, we've heard arguments in here today about leases and usufructs, and Representative Mabra, there is a difference between a lease and a usufruct. And the courts have very well decided, and they still do, go over these to tell the difference. And if there is a lease that is put out there, then it is a taxable interest that has passed. And if the issue with Clayton County is that they don't believe these are true usufructs, then the proper action would have been to challenge that in a court, as it has done many times over this state. And you talk about court and letting this go through a process of going through the courts. You know something? This body makes policy. We do make laws. We set the policy in the state of Georgia, and the last time I looked at it, the Constitution of this state gave us the right and gave us the duty to set tax policy in the state. You know, in testimony, it's sort of funny how by the own admission of the tax assessor that only 30%, around 30% of the vendors at the airport had been issued these property tax bills. I wonder why. You know, it brings up the issue of the uniformity clause and equal protection clause under the Constitution. Why are some being picked on and some not? Have you ever seen a tax assessor in any of your counties just skip over somebody and not issue a property tax bill, no matter if they had the information or not? No, they wouldn't. They would issue a property tax bill based on the best information available and put it on record. But somehow, only 30% of the vendors at the airport got a bill. I'd be worried about the uniformity clause in the Constitution. And as far as letting the courts handle it, you know something, it was real funny in testimony that these concessionaires had went through the appeals process with Clayton County, and there were 3 years worth of appeals that were sitting in Clayton County that Clayton County refused to certify and send to the Superior Court to let it be worked out in the court system. Now tell me something. Why would you do that if you're so intent on letting it be worked out in the courts? How much money do you think these people had spent in attorney fees? No less the 85% of the assessed value of the tax bill that they had already paid that's sitting up there. Folks, this isn't about Clayton County. This is about good property tax law in the state of Georgia that is applied fairly and equally across the board to everyone, and it's our job to make sure that that policy is set and that the people can count on crystal clear policy, and they're not going to get hammered by some provision out there in another part of the code where it's aviation, or whether somebody in this body sneaks something in and gives power to a local government to tax. Please vote for this bill. This is good for Georgia property owners and good for the businesses of the state of Georgia. Thank you.
The gentleman has yielded the well. For what purpose does Representative Kaiser rise?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I actually had a question for the author of the bill. But he yielded
The lady
well, so-
waves. For what purpose does Representative Glanton rise?
Madam Speaker, I actually had a question for the author, but he...
Gentleman waves. For what purpose does Representative Pack rise? He waves. For what purpose does Representative Lindsay rise? He waves. And for what purpose does Representative Jordan rise?
Madam Speaker, over here. To your right. Yeah, I am.
Yes.
At the appropriate time, a parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
At the appropriate time, I would like to know, be recognized, when could I ask that this bill be laid on the table, to table this bill? Yes.
That will be in order after the previous question is ordered.
Thank you.
You'll have that opportunity in just a moment. For what purpose does Representative Lindsay rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your
Madam
inquiry.
Speaker. Is it not true that this is a form of taxation that has never been approved by this body?
If the gentleman so states. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. For what purpose does Representative Jordan rise?
Madam Speaker, I would like to lay this bill on the table. To be I have as a motion.
The gentleman has moved that the House lay House Bill 399 on the table. Is there a second? Is there objection? There is objection. Does the gentleman move? He moves. On the motion that House Bill 399 be laid on the table, all those in favor will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. For what purpose does Representative Lindsay rise?
It's not true, Madam Speaker, that those of us who want to retain the authority to tax in the Georgia General Assembly should vote no on this motion and vote yes on the bill.
If the gentleman so states. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the motion that House Bill 399 be tabled. The yeas were 53, the nays were 116, and the motion has failed. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bill. The yeas were 111, the nays were 56. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 536.
House Bill 536 by Representative Sims, 169th. Bill to be entitled Act amending Code Section 361511 relating to receipt, disbursement of funds for county law libraries by counties having a population of 950,000 or more, so as to repeal and reserve the code section. Bill having been before the House Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination. Committee recommends the bill to pass. Bill is being read today for the third time.
Christie will hang on to it.
The chair recognizes Representative Sims to present House Bill
Bring it back to you,
536.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I bring you first on first of many of the repeal bills. You got oh, okay, I'm sorry. The first of the repeal bills that we have is House Bill 536. I'm sorry, and this one basically has to do with the disbursement of funds for a law library that's already being funded at this point in time. I'm going to try to explain to you what population acts are with this bill, and then we're going to be quick with these. You can feel good. You're going to actually take laws off the books. Okay, these are good. Okay, you're not adding anything. You're taking off. But what population acts are, they are unconstitutional at this time. We're trying to remove as many as we can this year, and we're going to continue next year with a lot of these. If you will, I would. If you don't have any questions, I'll yield the will.
The gentleman has questions. Chair recognizes Representative Glanton for question.
Yes,
He waives.
Okay.
Chair recognizes Representative Williams of the 87th for a question. He waives.
All right.
Chair recognizes Representative Mabra for a question.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes, ma'am.
Will
Yes,
the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Is there any way we could take $3.99 off the books? House Bill?
Mr. Neighbor, you'll have to ask a little later on that one. That's none of my business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Willard for a question.
Yes, sir.
Will the gentleman yield, please?
Yes.
Chairman Sims, the only question I've got, this applies to Fulton County. I believe in Fulton County, the library funds go to the general fund. The general fund supports the library. If we repeal this, what is the general law going to do as far as?
It will still fund it, sir.
In the same manner?
Yes, sir.
So
General law will do it.
General law allows to go into the general fund,
Yes,
have the county do the actual.
That's correct.
I know they have library boards set up in a lot of counties that receive those funds.
Yes, sir.
Is that not the way it's going to be happening in
That's
our
not
county?
the way. The way I understand it, it will still be funded.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no more questions. Gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bill. The yeas were 171, the nays were 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 537.
House Bill 537 by Representative Sims, 169th. The bill to be entitled Act, amending Code Section 20-2-51 relating to election of local board of education members, persons ineligible to be members or superintendent, ineligibility for boards of education, ineligibility for other elective office, or repeal a population provision prohibiting certain members of county boards of election education from holding other offices. Bill has been before the House Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination. Committee recommends the bill do pass. This bill is being read today for the third time.
Chair recognizes Chairman Sims to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Hey, Ben.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I bring to you now House Bill. Let me get the right one. This is 537. Basically, this has to do with the ineligibility of boards of education to hold another elected office. We're repealing the bill. I'll stand for any questions, otherwise I'll yield the well.
There are no questions.
Thank you.
Gentleman's yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bill. The yeas were 168, the nays were 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. The clerk will read the caption to House Bill 538.
House Bill 538 by Representative Sims, 169th. The bill to be entitled Admin Code Section 3132 relating to composition county boards of health, so as repeal a provision based upon a population. Bill has been for the House Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination. Committee recommends the bill to pass. The bill is being read today for the third time.
Chair recognizes Chairman Sims to present the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is House Bill 538. Again, another repeal. Basically, this is repealing subsection related to the county boards of health, saying that the superintendent of school is an ex officio member in a certain population area. We're just repealing the bill. I'll stand for any questions.
There are no questions.
Thank you.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas were 169, the nays were 0. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 539.
House Bill 539 by Representative Sims of the 169th. The bill to be entitled Admin Code Section 20-8-1 relating to definitions relative to campus police officers, so as to repeal a portion of definition based upon a population classification. Bill has been for the House Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination. Bill committee recommends the bill do pass. Bill is being read today for the third time.
Chair recognizes Chairman Sims to present the bill.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker. This one's got a little more controversy to it, and let me explain it to you. What this is going to do, we got an amendment on this one that fixes the bill. We're going to repeal the act of the what campus police officers can do within a certain population district, and then allow them to do it in all the private colleges and universities around that they can do now only in the population district of 400,000 people or more. We're repealing that part of it. You'll see the amendment that's on your desk, AM 350324. That's the amendment to this bill. Madam Speaker, I'll stand for any questions.
There are questions. The chair recognizes Chairman McCall for a question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
It appears that the bill is doing what it ought to do, and it appears that the amendment is undoing what the bill ought to do. When you remove the 400,000 population, is it not true? Then you start getting into rural areas. And the amendment says 500 yards, which is 3/10 of a mile from the property of an educational facility. It doesn't say the building, it says the property. Well, that gets way out into private property, which may even affect 512 that we just passed, and a lot of other stuff as far as what the campus police can govern and do whatever they do. I'd a whole lot rather have a guy with a blue shirt and a Smokey Bear hat on doing my police work than some campus cop running around doing it. Is it not true?
This is what this does. It allows them to patrol an area 500 yards past the campus, and the campus is defined within the bill. Basically, let's just say at Brenau University up there, those girls are walking back into to their dormitories. They can go 500 yards outside of that. At this point in time, they can't. Up at Truett McConnell, any of these private universities at Emory, at the Atlanta University section over there, they can patrol around those areas as for safety and as a safety precaution to those areas. That's why we're doing that.
Chair recognizes Representative Roberts for a question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Gentleman yield.
I do.
Chairman Sims, though, but when I read this, part of this says that the authority under the State Board of Education, and when we talk about campuses, it also says in line 5, property as well. So down in our neck of the woods, now are we now allowing for campus cops of high schools to be able to go out and patrol outside?
I think this has to do with those that are hired by the individual campus.
But it says operated under the authority of the State Board of Education.
That's just one part of it. The other part, it says universities and colleges.
Correct, and I understand that part, but are we including high schools because of the fact that it goes underneath the State Board of Education? I mean, I'd much rather my local law enforcement officers be.
Well, those are going to be the only ones that are going to be doing it down there, Representative Roberts. They're the only ones. They're not hired. It's going to be either the deputy sheriffs or the police department of those areas that are going to be doing it. They got that authority anyway.
Possibly. But I worry that when we take this out, I don't have no problem with the population part, but I do have an issue with the 500 yards down in our area.
I understand your concern, but I think this is going to allow them for the more safety of those areas. I mean, it just allows for a better patrol of that area. This does not include the university system. They come under a different law. It does not, as far as the university system itself. This attends to the private colleges and universities and those campuses of the authority, like a high school, I guess, in your case. I'll stand for any more, Madam Speaker.
There are more questions. The
Yes,
chair
ma'am.
recognizes Representative Cook for a question. He waives. The chair recognizes Representative Reinders for a question.
Be glad to.
Thank you. Does the gentleman yield?
I certainly do.
To my friend from South Georgia, Chris County High School sitting right next to I-75.
Correct.
Yes or no, can they now cruise I-75?
I think the state patrol, the sheriff's office, and the police department in Cordele can patrol I-75.
No, but if we're 500 yards away, you mentioned an example, if the gentleman will further yield, you mentioned an example of someone going to a dorm, and I kind of get that in my mind, but I'm trying to wrap my mind around if it's 500 yards from a high school, a resource officer, something like that, they in fact could go into, in that case, could go onto an interstate potentially, no?
Well,
or is there something that prohibits that? Maybe
may I ask you a question and answer your question? Who is the resource officer in Crisp County?
Well, I don't know, but if the local authority has the right to be able to do that, when we extend it by the Board of Education 500 yards or the Department of Education, I'm just wondering if that would allow them to go on an interstate.
I would assume so at that position since they're 500 yards from there.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions, madam?
Chair recognizes Representative Lindsay for a question.
Be glad to.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
I certainly will.
Just for a point of clarification, this code section that you are applying this to, which is 20-8-1, is subject to also code section 20-8-3, which isn't in your bill, but that code section 20-8-3 specifically limits those campus police that have been actually post-certified.
That's correct.
So that we're not talking about rent-a-cops suddenly having jurisdiction to go off campus and start writing tickets. We're talking about folks in which the entire police force on a campus has gone through all the necessary rigor and training and is actually post-certified under Georgia law.
That is correct. And not only that some of those have been deputized by the local sheriffs also.
Yeah, thank you.
For what purpose does Representative Roberts rise?
Appropriate time, Madam Speaker, I'd like to make a motion.
State your motion.
I'd like to make a motion to table.
The representative has has suggested that we lay the bill on the table. Is there objection? There is objection. Does the gentleman move? The gentleman moves. On the motion that House Bill 539 be tabled, all those in favor of the passage of tabling the bill will vote yes. All those opposed to tabling the bill will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? It ain't good. If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the motion to lay House Bill 539 on the table. The yeas were 72, the nays were 89. The bill is not tabled. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. There is an amendment. For what purpose does Representative Smyrie rise?
Parliament inquiry, Madam Speaker.
State your inquiry.
I had my button for a question, and the gentleman.
The gentleman has yielded the well.
But I had a.
Do you have a parliamentary inquiry?
Parliament inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Madam Speaker, this has been asked earlier by someone, but want to make sure that the officers that we're talking about are post-certified people. It's not like person that you hire on a temporary basis that they use for security purposes in some university or educational units.
The gentleman so states. For what purpose does Representative Setzler rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Madam Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that police officers in a city, if there's a law enforcement purpose just outside of the city limits, they do have some flexibility to move outside the city limits to enforce the law? And likewise, isn't it true that what this bill would simply do is to allow post-certified officers who work on campuses, who are watching a crime happen right across the street from campus, to leave campus and enforce the law to protect our citizens? Isn't it true?
The gentleman so states. For what purpose does Chairman Sims rise?
Madam Speaker, let me try to make it a little
Parliamentary
bit more.
inquiry?
Parliamentary inquiry. Isn't it?
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that this law that we were looking at here on the amendment is already law now? That is the law that is stated now.
If the gentleman so states. The chair has actual knowledge that it is general law currently. For what purpose does Representative McCall rise?
A true parliamentary inquiry, please.
State your
ma'am.
inquiry.
Is it not true that if we like what the bill said, we should vote down the amendment?
If the gentleman so states. The clerk will read the amendment AM 350324.
Representative Sims, 169th and others, move to amend House Bill 539. The amendment is printed and on your desk, upper right-hand corner, AM 350324.
For what purpose does Representative Oliver rise?
Madam Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that the purpose of this amendment is to allow the private universities who have had established police offices, not only post-certified, but have been operating as a police agency, to continue to do work in terms of patrolling the perimeters of their campus? Further parliamentary inquiry, Madam Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it also true that if you have a large university with an established police agency, that the cooperation between the local police and the campus police is absolutely essential, and without this buffer opportunity, they will not be able to work together?
The lady so states. For what purpose does Representative Kidd rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Madam Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Is this amendment favorably affect towns like Milledgeville, Georgia, that have two universities on opposite sides of the town and both have police forces that parole downtown and work with the county sheriff and the city police in patrolling the area?
If the gentleman so states. For what purpose does Representative Roberts rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Madam Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Madam Speaker, is it not true that while we fully agree that we need to protect our colleges and universities, it clearly defines underneath this the State Board of Education, which brings into effect our high schools, and they do not have to be in the effect of trying to go out to see a crime, to go off of that campus. This gives them the right to go off at any time. Is that not true?
If the gentleman so states. For what purpose does Representative Weldon rise?
Madam Chair, to move to call the question on the amendment.
Does the gentleman desire to move the previous question?
Yes, Madam Chair, move the previous question.
The gentleman moves the previous question. Is there objection to moving the previous question? No objection. We're on to the amendment. Is there objection to adopting the amendment? There is objection. Does the gentleman move? The gentleman moves. All those in favor of adopting the amendment will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the adoption of the amendment. The yeas are 92. The nays are 76. The amendment is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of the bill. The yeas were 121, the nays were 47. The bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed.
Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 540. House Bill 540.
House Bill 540 by Representative Sims, 169th. Bill will be entitled Act, repealing Act providing all counties of 500,000 or more population according to the United States Census of 1960 or any future United States Census that pension board of the Board of Education of such county shall recompute the pension. Bill has been before the House Committee on Intergovernmental Coordination. Committee recommends the bill do pass. Bill is being read today for the third time.
Chair recognizes Chairman Sims to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House. This one may not, I hope this isn't that controversial. Basically, this bill repeals the Population Act applicable to Fulton County relating to the pension board of the Board of Education and pensions paid to teachers prior to April the 1st, 1955. I think all those folks are deceased, so I don't think it applies to anybody anymore. I'll stand for any questions, Mr. Speaker.
You have a question?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes the Majority Caucus Whip, Representative Lindsay, for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
I do.
Is it not true that you promised us in Rules Committee that all these bills would take approximately 1 minute?
I did, Mr. Whip. I tried to do that, but my good friend Mr. Roberts wanted to hold me up on that. You'll have to talk to him in Rules.
Always somebody to blame, isn't there? You have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield well.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 540 will vote yes. Those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 540. The ayes are 165, the nays are 3. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Would somebody look and see what's in their water bottle over there? Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 203. House Bill 203.
House Bill 203 by Representative Hamilton, 24th. Bill will be entitled 44, related to protection of American Indian human remains and burial objects so as to remove certain information associated with recognized legitimate American Indian tribes of Georgia. Bill having been for the House Committee on Governmental Affairs. The committee recommends this bill do pass. It's being read today for the third time.
The chair recognizes Chairman Hamilton to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I give you a long 30-line bill. All this bill does is strikes the address for 3 different Indian tribes that are in code. The addresses were put in years ago, and unfortunately there's conflict over it's not the right address, and we determined the simplest thing to do was to remove the address from code. And let me say unequivocally, has nothing to do with casino gambling. Completely out, no blackjack, nothing. And it's all that's all it does, Mr. Speaker, and I'll be happy to yield the well if there's no questions.
No questions. You have no questions. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 203 will vote yes. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 203. The ayes are 160, the nays are 7. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 407. House Bill 407.
House Bill 407, Representative Powell, 32nd. A bill will be entitled, Title 40, relating to cancellation, suspension, revocation, driver's license. Title 42, relating to ignition, interlock devices, and condition of probation, so as to modify and extend provisions related to the mandatory use of ignition, interlock devices. Bill has been before the House Committee on Judiciary and Non-Civil. The committee recommends the bill do pass. Bill's being read by the third time.
Chair recognizes Representative Johnny Caldwell to present the bill. Representative Caldwell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What this bill is that in 2012, the Federal Transportation Act modified their position concerning interlock ignition devices on automobiles, as well as their minimum time for which a hard license could be revoked, and moved it from a position they had to a minimum of 1 year for each of these. Our law in Title 40 and Title 42 had lesser provisions from 6 months to 8 months, and to come into compliance with the Federal Transportation Act, we have to increase ours to 12 months in each of these. Otherwise, we possibly stand to lose some 2.5% of $1 billion, which is $25 million, and I know none of us want to do that. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I would yield the well.
You have a question. Do you yield?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes the Majority Caucus Whip, Representative Lindsay.
I knew better.
To your right for a question, and let me remind you, you are not a judge anymore.
I understand, sir.
Representative Lindsay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
As a matter of fact, I'm glad that the Speaker brought this up. Is it not true that in your prior profession, you are a highly regarded Superior Court judge.
If the gentleman so speaks.
Is it not also true that on more than one occasion I appeared before you in court?
If the gentleman so states.
Is it not also true that you proved yourself when I was before you to be an extremely activist judge, which means that you ruled against me on more than one occasion?
If the gentleman so speaks, yes, sir.
So would it not be fair for me now to try to get even today with my vote?
If the gentleman so speaks, but understand, like Chairman Meadows, I have a long memory.
Judge, Representative, welcome to the House.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations on your first
Mr.
bill.
Speaker, I yield the well.
Smart representative. The gentleman has yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. On the passage of House Bill 407, the ayes are 169. The nays are 3. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 184. House Bill 184.
House Bill 184 by Representative Casas, 107th. The bill being entitled Act amending Code Section 20-3-250.8 relating to applications to operate or conduct post-secondary activities under the Non-Public Post-Secondary Educational Institutions Act of 1990. Bill having been for the House Committee on Higher Education. Committee recommends the bill do pass by way of a committee substitute. Bill's being read for the third time.
Chair recognizes Representative Casas to present the bill. Representative Casas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the House, you have before you House Bill 184. This is a bill that we passed last session, and we ran out of time and agrees and disagrees, and we're at it again. All this does is a paperwork reduction act, really. It allows our private colleges, our private seminaries, to be able to be authorized to operate in the state of Georgia if they are accredited by a recognized accredited agency. All they would have to do is fill out an application and pay the fee and not have to submit all this paperwork annually. The bill also addresses the fee structure, and currently the Non-Public Post-Secondary Education Commission charges a percentage of gross revenues of these private colleges. What we're doing is we're adjusting that to be based on actual headcount. Now, you have an amendment with this bill, and it's just fixing some language on it to where we realized that we were limiting it to what the student is being charged per credit hour. But if you do the math, if a school has 1,000 students and they charge $300 a credit hour, that's a $300,000 fee. So we don't want that. So what we're doing with the amendment is we're limiting it to $2 per student as the fee that will be charged. So, Mr. Speaker, that's the bill, and I will yield for questions.
You don't have questions.
Wonderful. I will ask for your favorable consideration for the amendment and the bill 184. Thank you.
Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? The chair hears none. The previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? The chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. There was an amendment, so I'm getting a little ahead of myself. There is an amendment offered by Representative Casas. It's AM 33-1289. The clerk will read the amendment.
Representative Casas, 107th, and others offer the following amendment. Amend the substitute House Bill 184. Amendment AM 33-1289, upper right-hand corner, is printed in your calendar books with House Bill 184 substitute.
Is there any objection to adopting the amendment? Chair hears none. The amendment is adopted. Is there any objection now to adopting the committee substitute as amended? The chair hears none. The committee substitute as amended is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the passage of House Bill 184 will vote yes. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines on the passage of House Bill 184. The ayes are 166. The nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. This would be a good time, I think, to mention that we have a member that is celebrating a birthday today. Please help me wish happy birthday to Representative Mary Margaret Oliver. Happy birthday. And on Saturday, we won't be here unless the majority leader brings a new adjournment resolution. But it will be the birthday of the chairman of the Insurance Committee, Chairman Smith, on Saturday. Happy birthday, Mr. Chairman. And to help celebrate their birthday, we're going to take a little break right here. And I am pleased to announce that for members of the House, we have a little dinner down in room 216, and for staff in room 230, room 216. Now, we don't have a lot of work to go, though. So we're going to break for 45 minutes. We will reconvene at 6:50 p.m. House will be in recess until 6:50 p.m.